back at ringside and making his way to the ring, Marik McKay. Looking to swing tonight on the star. He brings in a 9-5 record. 4 wins by way of knockout. He hails from Brooklyn, so we're going to have one of those international matchups tonight because his opponent hails from Ireland. Of course, I'm talking about John Lowey. And the crowd on their feet as the man from Dundonald, Ireland, 26-2, 18 knockouts, gets ready to come in the ring. Took almost 2 years off after that disappointing stoppage against Eric Morales. Had his first comeback fight in October, winning a 6-round decision over Joe LaFontaine. And has still been out of action until here in July. So he's managed to have another 9-month layoff. Says he hasn't been able to get fights. Nobody wants to fight him. Well, Marik McKay did. And he's coming in there tonight, and he's going to have his hands full with Lowey. Quick tail of the tape. As we said, Lowey 26-2 to the 9-5 for Marik McKay. Certainly experience in Lowey's favor. Slight weight advantage for McKay. Height advantage for Lowey, which is sometimes rare for him at 5'7". And we're going to go up, though, find out a little bit more, as we always do, from the man with the numbers, Ed Darien.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Yonkers Raceway here in Yonkers, New York, Joe DeGuardia proudly presents Star Boxing in association with Rock All Promotions. Our judges, Georgia Gabrielle, Melvina Lathan, and Chick Hill. This is a special international bout in the featherweight division, scheduled for 6 rounds. Our referee for this bout is referee Frank Martinez. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals. First in the red corner, wearing the white trunks with the black trim. He tipped in at an even 125 pounds. This young fella has 9 wins, 4 losses with 4 knockouts. From New Port Richey, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is Marik Mighty Mo McKay. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the blue trunks with the white trim. He weighed in at 125½ pounds. Now this young pugilist has 26 wins, 2 losses with 18 big knockouts. All the way from County Down, Ireland. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the quiet man, John Lowey.
Well, Steve, it sounds like half of Dublin's here tonight.
A lot more support for the foreigner than for the American. John Lowey's been in the U.S. before.
All right, and we feel very privileged. Joining us at ringside is the newly crowned New York lightweight champion, former Golden Gloves champion, and the only man in the place with better hair than me, Brian Adams. How you doing?
I'm doing great. My pleasure, Tokyo. My pleasure, Steve.
You know, it's got to be frustrating, and I don't know how much you've gone through this in your career. Lowey says he has trouble getting fights. That's got to be very disconcerting to a fighter than to go through the kind of layoffs that he's gone through.
Well, it's very discouraging, especially training. You actually don't know, how to train properly if there's nobody out there really to step up and, compete with you. So it's very frustrating training.
And Lowey's going to be 34 years old next month. And these kind of layoffs, when you're sitting at the prime of your career and you have a 2-year layoff, I'm sure that's not something that you want to have in your plans, but you have taken off layoffs though already in your career.
All the injuries. Due to a few unfortunate injuries for me, I've had to take time off from the sport.
Brian, how do you deal with the rust though when you come back? What's it like that first time back in after a long layoff?
Well, you just can't really think about it. You have to relax, get in there. And I mean, this guy, 28 fights. He's very experienced. He should know how to handle himself inside the ring at this point in his career. Just take your time, place your shots, and hopefully you won't be too rusty in there. Just don't think too much.
Can sparring ever make up for what you're not doing in the ring?
Physically, yes. Mentally, no. Sparring can definitely, you know, help you out physically. But mentally, it just can't come to the same level as actual competition.
One of the things, and Steve, you and I talked about this earlier, that's been amazing for Lowey is the consistency in weight. He's managed to continue being a 122-pounder. I even mentioned to him about going up to fight Naz, and he looked at me like I was crazy. He says, I'm a 22-pounder. I said, well, he only weighs 26. Well, why should I go up to 26?
Usually a fighter like Lowey, as he goes into his 30s, will put on a few pounds. Apparently he's not that type. And remember, this is a guy who's been in with Eric Morales, Kennedy McKinney, and both of them at the time were among the best fighters in the world. So he should not, on paper at least, have much trouble with Marik McKay.
Well, but oddly enough, he had 18 knockouts in his first 25 fights. For 26, he was carried the distance by an unknown journeyman named Joseph LaFontaine, and that was back in October. And here he is right now, seemingly having his hands full with McKay.
McKay seems to be very energetic. He came in, the crowd is not behind him, and he feels he's from the United States. He should have the crowd on his side. So it's giving him energy. Very competitive first round.
Very fast first round, too. And just as we end it, Lowey punctuates it with a good combination. And the legs seem to be going on McKay. Round number 2, scheduled for 6. And perhaps that's somewhat to the advantage, certainly of Lowey after these long layoffs where he's been taking 6-round fights, and this is a guy that's used to go into championship distance. Although, oddly enough, in 28 pro fights, he's never been past 8 rounds.
And he went 8 with Eric Morales, didn't he?
Yeah, and 8 with McKinney.
Yeah.
There may be something about that number that he hits a wall at the 8th round, because that's a lot of fights, a lot of scheduled 10 rounds. But again, a big part of that is he's got 18 knockouts. Gets a warning there.
There's one thing for sure, Tokyo. He won't be going 8 rounds tonight.
Well, it's only scheduled for 6, so that's why.
Big right hand there by Marik McKay, and he had Lowey grabbing there. That was the best punch so far from McKay.
McKay's got 4 knockouts in his 9 wins, but he's got a suspect chin. He's been stopped 4 times. He's on a 2-bout knockout loss streak coming into this fight. But this is already his 5th start of Y2K. His last fight back in June. So just coming off his 30-day suspension.
And again, Lowey complaining about the butts, complaining to Santarpia. This is going to be a difficult fight.
Brian, what do you do in a case like this when you've got a mighty Mo in front of you and you want to slow him down so you're not out of your own game plan?
Well, Mighty Mo is doing an excellent job of getting inside and frustrating Lowey. But Lowey just have to use his experience, relax, use his jab, and give a little bit more movement to the side, and he'll be able to control the bout. But Mighty Mo is doing an excellent job getting inside, frustrating him. That's exactly what he had to do, use his jab.
Nice body attack when he gets inside by McKay. McKay's in the white, John Lowey is in the blue and white. Nobody on the floor thus far.
Be interesting to see if McKay can keep this pace for 6 rounds.
McKay's only been 6 rounds one time in his career. That was a 6-round decision win over Brett Corbett just this past March.
He's winning this round.
Well, McKay definitely came to win tonight. It appears that way.
Well, certainly wants to stop that 2-bout loss streak he has coming in here. What a feather in his cap it would be if he could somehow pull out a win over the world-ranked John Lowey. Nice counterpunch on the inside by McKay. All right, Brian, not only wasn't John Lowey able to adjust, as we talked about, between the first and the second round, but he might have actually lost that second round to McKay. What seems to be the problem? Is rust a bigger factor than he might have anticipated?
I think it's a combination of a little rust and him overlooking his opponent. Opponent with a record of 9-4. You wouldn't expect too much out of him. But McKay came in really energetic and really expecting to win this fight tonight. So it kind of threw Lowey off.
Steve, you somewhat surprised at this point by how well McKay's doing?
Arnie, I'm very surprised because these next couple of rounds for John Lowey are going to determine the rest of his career. If he loses to a 9-4 fighter with no reputation, he might as well pack it in.
Exactly.
All right, we've only got a scheduled 6-rounder. He might have only taken 6 because he thought it was in his advantage with the layoff, but it may turn out to be to McKay's advantage if, as you mentioned, Steve, he can keep up this pace.
Not unusual, Arnie, of course, for European fighters to fight 6-round fights. They do it quite often. Very unusual for American fighters who are 10-round fighters to ever take a 6-rounder.
Schedule for 6, these are junior featherweights. Lowey, of course, in the blue and white, coming out of Ireland. And out of Brooklyn, Marik McKay, and down goes Lowey. And that's no slip. Little confusion on the neutral corner and a lot of extra time to regain his composure given to Lowey. Let's see how the veteran handles this and see how kind of finishing power McKay has. He's got 4 knockouts in his 9 wins.
That's big on the scorecards because that's a 2-point round unless McKay really slumps over the rest of this 3rd round. That's big on the cards. It's only a 6-round fight.
McKay looks very tentative right now. Backing up, pouring with his jab. He's allowing Mighty Mo to just be too aggressive.
You think he's got his legs back right now, Brian?
He appeared to be clear-headed. His legs are there. He's just not into the fight right now. He seems a bit confused. And it's odd because he has a lot of experience.
Well, I think he probably took this fight thinking it was going to be a walk in the park, an easy tune-up, looked at the line record, especially considering the fact that McKay's been knocked out in his last 2 fights. And that's always dangerous. That's why you need to study tapes.
Well, we've seen that happen to one of the baddest men on the planet, Mike Tyson with Buster Douglas. You can't overlook anyone. Train the high level for every opponent.
Lowey's trying to box McKay. I think what he needs to do is hurt McKay and slow him down a little bit because McKay's still really moving very quickly.
Exactly. McKay has no respect for him right now.
There it is, left hook.
Oh, and a big combination by Lowey. Lowey's seeing if he can reverse this 10-8 round.
He's looking for that right uppercut. He landed one about 30 seconds ago, but it was a left hook that really rocked McKay. Lowey's best punch so far.
Well, McKay, though, coming back. Lowey trying to make it a 10-10 when right now McKay up 10-8.
Yeah, the best Lowey can hope for here would be a 10-9 round.
Lowey not able to capitalize on hurting McKay.
He's allowing McKay to smother him.
Hey boxing fans, come out for live boxing. Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing presents Rockin' Fights. For ticket information, go to starboxing.com or ticketmaster.com. See some of the best young fighters. Star Boxing, Rockin' Fights, it's a knockout.
Second half of the scheduled 6-rounder, Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal along with Brian Adams and Steve Farhood. And, well, we're halfway gone. Steve, how you see it at this point?
We're even it or not, Arnie, I gave McKay that last round 10-8. I didn't think Lowey came back enough to make it a 10-9 round. I have McKay up 2 points after 3 rounds.
I've got it the same way, 29-27. Champ, how do you see it?
I was a little bit more generous. I got McKay up by 3 points. I gave him the second round, and I gave him the third round, you know, the 10-8 round. So I have him up by 3 points at this point.
Come on, Johnny!
But the fight is slowly but surely turning into Lowey's favor.
It is, yeah. Lowey started landing pretty big there the second half of the third round.
And he's starting to land some nice body shots early on in this round.
You think the jab is the ticket, though, for Lowey, Brian?
Oh, definitely. The jab is the ticket for every boxer in the sport. The jab sets up everything. McKay is lunging in, so the jab would definitely, you know, set everything up.
Steve, assuming that the judges are seeing it the way we're seeing it and he's dug himself a 2-point hole, how big a mistake is it going in and doing a 6-round fight for an experienced fighter like him?
Well, he wasn't planning on getting knocked down. He didn't think he was in with much here. So I don't think he thought that the 6 rounds would be a factor. Now they are.
Keep your hands up! Hands up! Hands up!
Crowd getting into it here.
Come on, Mo! Let's go, Mo! Let's go!
A lot of Irish partisans in here tonight rooting for Lowey, and that seems to be spurring on McKay, who's from Brooklyn. He's not happy about being in his backyard and having the crowd go the other way. That could only happen in New York.
But speaking from experience, Tokyo, that can pump you up. You know, you go in there and think you have the edge, and the crowd is booing you. That can pump you up.
Under a minute to go here in the fourth. Only knockdown in the fight came early in the third. John Lowey tasting the canvas. McKay pulling out a 10-8 round. It appears to have a very short lead at this point.
McKay is there to be hit. Lowey's just not doing it. His hand speed's a little slow, and he's not sharp enough, but McKay is right there to be hit.
Steve, I think it's a combination of rust and possibly at this point age. His pro career started back in December of '88, a veteran of 28 fights, and a major 2-year layoff since the Morales fight between December '97 to October of '99, and another layoff after that short comeback. I think it's showing tonight. Better round, though, nevertheless, for Lowey.
Hey, boxing fans, come out for live boxing. Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing presents Rockin' Fights. For ticket information, go to starboxing.com or ticketmaster.com. See some of the best young fighters. Star Boxing, Rockin' Fights, it's a knockout.
Round number 5 on Star Boxing. Coming to you tonight from Yonkers Raceway. Veteran Irish junior featherweight John Lowey, he's in blue and white, having his hands full right now with underdog Marik McKay. McKay coming in tonight with a 9-5 record against the 26-2 Lowey. Dropping Lowey back in the third round. And Lowey coming back a little bit in the fourth, but I wouldn't say very decisively.
No, I still think Lowey can win this fight on points. If he can win the 5th and 6th rounds, I think he'll get the decision. And right now, he's boxing nicely. Using his jab, keeping away, and maybe McKay slowing down just a little bit. That's all it's going to take for Lowey to be dominant.
Lowey drops in a nice left hook as the right hand drops on the part of McKay.
Well, I think Lowey realized that McKay came to fight, so he settled down, and now he's doing what he's supposed to do. He got all the rust out.
For all intents and purposes here, Brian, McKay's a place where he really hasn't been very often. Round 5 and hopefully for his sake, round 6. Basically been a 4-round fighter. Lowey really starting to take things off. Breathing heavy through the mouth right now is McKay. Might have punched himself out a little bit too.
Yeah, a lot of wasted energy earlier. Lunging in, wrestling.
What you see right now, one fighter, the veteran who's been all the rounds, is picking up steam, And the fighter who's really not a 10-round fighter, or even an 8-round fighter, is losing steam. So it's all Lowey right now.
Steve, Lowey seems tentative, though, with his right hand. He's doubling on the jab. He's not letting the right hand go, and when he does, there doesn't seem to be a lot on it, almost as if he's injured that hand. Even inside here now, watch, he doesn't do much with the right hand.
He was real effective earlier in the fight with a right uppercut. We haven't seen that in about 2 rounds.
Oh, Lowey complains about getting hit below the belt. Referee doesn't do much about it. Lowey continues to control things here in the 5th with that jab. Remember, this is only scheduled for 6 rounds. And at least on our scorecards unofficially, Lowey's going to need this round just to pull even.
He seemed to be controlling the bout now with no problems. If he step up the pace in the last round, he may be able to knock McKay out.
Well, again, on our cards, Brian, he's going to need that last round to win the fight. Never mind stopping him. Good round for Lowey. He's going to go to the 6th.
Can't get enough of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing? Download the Star Boxing TV app or check out our Roku channel to watch exclusive content and classic fights. Every punch, every knockout, every screen. The Star Boxing TV app gives you exclusive access to every moment of Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing. Available on Apple, Android, and Roku. Just search Star Boxing to get in the ring.
All right, one of our stellar round card girls here at Star Boxing, and a very exciting 5-round fight, and it's John Lowey, who was looked at as the prohibitive favorite. We see him there in his corner. Coming in tonight 26-2 with the big-time experience, world title fight experience at that, having his hands full with the 9-5 fight of Marik McKay. McKay dropping Lowey back in the 3rd. And it's up for grabs here coming into the 6th. 6th and final round. John Lowey, blue and white. Marik McKay in white. Guys, tell me, we have an even fight going into the 6th round. Who would have thought that would be the case here? Again, unofficially on our cards.
It'll be interesting to see that knockdown round, whether any of the judges scored a 10-9 for McKay and not 10-8 as we did. So that could be a key point right there.
But both guys coming out knowing that this is a pivotal round here.
Well, if either corner gave any instruction other than you need this round to win the fight, they were certainly remiss.
It just appears to me that Lowey has got a little sharp as the rounds went on.
Brian, what happens when you're in a situation and you've been there and your corner says to you, must win this round to win the fight. You got to have this round. And you go out there, what do you do different in a situation like that? The corner says it to you, but does it register?
I mean, if you feel like you actually really need the round to win the fight, I mean, you got a little bit more aggressive. Hopefully, you keep your defense tight, but you just try to open up a little bit more. Now, if you feel that your corner is just trying to get you to go out there and just, keep throwing punches, but you feel like you're winning a bout, I mean, you go and you just pace yourself the last round. No need to take any unnecessary chances.
Steve, you've seen that case, though, where sometimes that could lead to recklessness.
Oh, yeah. Well, Lowey's doing the right thing here, that's for sure, because McKay is tired. He's using all his energy to get close. And when he gets close, the most he throws is one shot, one left hook. That's not going to do it.
McKay came in very game, but I think Lowey experience really picked up and showed the last few rounds.
Nice left hook by Lowey. McKay showing a lot better chin also than what the record. Remember, he's been knocked out in his last 2 fights by the likes of Manuel Cepeda and Jose Cotto. Haven't heard of them? Either have we. But we've heard of John Lowey, and right now he's weathering the storm from Lowey. And somewhat surprisingly here,
Well, y'all made a point earlier that he's not really extending his right hand. I think if he really lets his right hand go, he can get the knockout.
Throwing the right like it's injured as he winces right there when he threw it. Drops it in there, though, and a headbutt at the same time. It appears we're going to go the distance here. But I'm going to be real curious, as everybody else in this SRO crowd is, to see what the judges did. Oh, this one's in the books. In the books, John Lowey raising his hands, but he should raise them in terms of how he came back. And at least, guys, tell me if you see it differently. But I've got it 57-56. John Lowey pulling this out in spite of the 10-8 third round against him. And at the end of the day, I only gave the second and third round to Marik McKay.
I hate to agree with you, Arnie, but I scored it the same way.
Exactly, Arnie, same way.
All right, well, we're in agreement. The question is, will the judges at ringside be in agreement? Nevertheless, as we're waiting for this, let's talk about the future, though, of John Lowey. Here's a fighter about to turn 34 years old next month. He's fought for the world title twice, came up empty both times, got stopped. He's had trouble getting fights. He's had these layoffs. What's his future, Steve, based on what you just saw?
Not great. 9 months in between this and his last fight. The guy's had 2 major chances against 2 great fighters in Kennedy McKinney and Eric Morales. He didn't conquer either one of them. No surprise there. It's asking a lot to get 3 chances at the brass ring. So I don't know if Lowey he may fight, he may win. On the international level in Europe, he could do pretty well. But world champion, I don't think so.
Brian, I've seen you in comeback situations, and you seemed, to put it bluntly, a lot more prepared than Lowey was tonight after his long layoff. How do you see it?
Well, speaking from a fighter's point of view, I would like to see Lowey 2-3 more bouts and see how he responds during that course. I mean, obviously, to the naked eye, he just overlooked this opponent, and he struggled a bit. This bout shouldn't have been as close as it was.
Briefly, using the vernacular, do you think he shot?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, like I said, I would like to see him 2 more times. And then if he still struggled, maybe it's time to pack it in.
All right, well, we're going to find out how this decision went. Very anxious crowd here. Ed Darian's got the numbers.
From Yonkers Raceway here in Yonkers, New York, I've got the scoring, and here it is. Judges Melvina Lathan and George D. Gabriel each score 57-56, while Judge Chick Hill, he has it 58-55. All for the winner by unanimous decision, the quiet man, John Lowey. Lowey. Now let's hear one more time for Marik McKay.
Partisan crowd, but John Lowey will improve to 27-2. 2 judges seeing it the way we had it, 57-56. One having it 58-55, a little while wider. Marik McKay, very disappointed. And he will drop down to 9-6. And got to thank Brian Adams for sitting in with us. Terrific call. And we'll see if what you talked about concerning John Lowey comes to be true in the future. Thanks for joining us, champ, and we look forward to seeing you back in the ring.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Steve Farhood and Arnie Tokyo Rosenthal will be back with more Star Boxing after these words.